So,
big news yesterday. Notre Dame announces that they are no longer going to be playing Michigan as of after the 2015 season.
which
Big.
is
That's a long-time rivalry. Dates back to the 1800s.
actually the exact first time well, not exact date, but first year they played was 1887. They've played every year against each other since 2002 and regularly since 1978. They spent a span from 1944 to 1977 and 1910 to 1941 without playing each other. So you do have some pretty big gaps. But either which way, this is a storied rivalry that goes all the way back to, like Eric said, the late 1800s. And it's a situation where even the average college football fan's a little upset by this. This is one of those games that you sort of look forward to watching every year. The rivalry of these two teams sort of, no matter what talent you had on the field, was always sort of intense. Similar to like when you watch like a division game in the NFL, in my opinion, where even if the two teams aren't good, they end up having, like Jacksonville, Indianapolis this past Sunday. Two division teams. Now, is there any really exciting players on those teams? Mojo, Andrew Luck, not really much else out there. But turned into a great game that went down to the final seconds and was won on a touchdown scored in the last seconds. So, it was the same kind of thing where no matter what kind of talent they had on the field, it was always an intense game. It always had meaning to those teams and their fans and was always enjoyable to watch. And now you got 2 more years. And that's it. And we don't know if and when it will come back.
No, we don't. I think this is a move that a lot of people look at on the surface and say, oh, well, they're getting rid of the Big Ten teams because they're playing more of the ACC teams. It's not really that way because also yesterday, or I don't know if it happened yesterday or a little while ago, but Notre Dame also did agree to play a home-and-home series with Northwestern, which is also a Big Ten team. So it's kind of like they traded Michigan for Northwestern in a way. Excuse me, but Northwestern, isn't the caliber team that Michigan is by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know if it's them trying to schedule maybe easier games because they're playing some tougher games now with the ACC schedule they have. Because now instead of playing just, Michigan, they're going to have to play Florida State. They're going to play Miami. They're going to play, a bunch of tougher teams. So I don't know. Maybe it's a move that kind of gives them a game where they don't necessarily have to worry about playing a team that could be ranked.
Yeah. Now, Fife does throw in the chat room that he believes they're going to play every 4 or 5 years, and when they do play, they will make a very, very big deal out of it to, publicize and push the game. Now, to give you guys a little background behind this, Notre Dame agreed to join the ACC in all sports other than football. With that being said, they've sort of, I guess, are deciding to change some things up with how they go about their football games. Anyway, Joey put in the chat room, and we touched on this once before when they first made the decision of, should they take their football team and just join a conference or stay independent? And I personally think they should join a conference. I know a lot of people like the fact that they're independent, and a lot of people think that that's Notre Dame's thing and that's what they do. But in my opinion, I'm sorry to tell you, you haven't won a national championship in a while. Get off your high horse. I know you're making the money. So, obviously, if I'm Notre Dame, and I'm the guy signing those contracts, bringing in all that money, I'm not saying no to NBC. But from an outside perspective, join a conference. Get off your high horse. You're not that special anymore. You're not the school that you used to be. It's too small of a world now. People know of, people that live next to you are fans of Alabama now. People that, are around that Notre Dame school, they're not all Notre Dame fans anymore. It's changed. You now can watch any team on TV. It's not like when everybody only had basic cable and it was like, oh my God, we get to watch the Notre Dame game or we get to watch the Penn State game. We have basic cable. No, now you got ESPNU, DirecTV college football packages, this, that, and the other thing, and you can see any game all around the country.
You're getting 2 games on ESPN, you're getting 2 games on ESPN2, you're getting a game on CBS, you're getting at least 1, sometimes 2 games on ABC, you're getting a game on Fox every now and then. I mean, there's so many, that's not counting all the games you get on MSG, on, like you said, ESPNU. All these other stations are playing college games now, so you're absolutely right when you say the Notre Dame's not the only game in town anymore. I think it's more of a fact that they can't recruit as much because of their academic standards. It's hard for them to get the players they want to get because they hold people to a higher standard there, and they're not willing to budge on that yet, just like they're not willing to budge on the conference either. As far as joining a conference, they will eventually budge. Like I keep telling people, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years even. It's going to be a 5 or even 10-year process before Notre Dame finally gives up the independent and joins a conference.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're aligning themselves with a conference, I feel like, that is going to be a conference that's going to be around a long time, that has some talent, but a conference they feel that if they got into, they could win or at least be consistent on a year-to-year basis in. They could be competitive on a year-to-year basis. I think it would have been harder for them to do that in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, Fife points out some interesting things that I did not know. When the playoff, Fife puts in the chat room that when the playoff system is put in place, they won't need a conference game to make the national title. But right now, teams without conference championship games will not get a national title bid. So pretty much what he's saying is that when they implement the playoff system, they'll be able to get a title bid. Right now, since they're not aligned with anybody, they won't be able to get it.
No, that's not true. If Notre Dame were to run the table and go undefeated, more than likely they'd be in the national championship. I don't think that just because they don't play a conference championship game. Because if you look at the talent they play all year long, they play Michigan, Michigan State, USC, Stanford. They play a lot of talented teams. So, again, you're not going to they probably have one of the tougher strength of schedules, if not the toughest strength of schedule across the board. It's almost like an SEC schedule with all the ranked teams that they play. And if they were to run the table, they would be in the national championship. I disagree with Fife on that point. And as far as when the playoff comes around, they're still going to reward teams that play a conference championship game. And he's right, though. Just like I said a minute ago, anytime Notre Dame runs the table, they're probably going to be in the national title game. They probably are. They're going to be in the title picture. It's just a fact. Because of the talent that they play.
Well,
whether it's a playoff or whether it's the BCS, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, Joey, I hope that helped create the conversation that you were looking for, my friend. But to give you guys a background to what exactly is going on with the Michigan-Notre Dame situation, pretty much Notre Dame told Michigan that they were exercising what is called a 3-year out. It's part of the contract signed between the two schools. Now, what it means is that even though they had a contract that was scheduled to go from 2007 through 2031, in that contract, one of the little fine print pieces was after every 3 years, either school had the option to back out of the contract. So every 3 years of the contract, either school could have said, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, we're backing out. Well, Notre Dame is exercising that option. So with that said, that means they are going to play their last 2 games. Let's see, I know I have this written down. On September 7th, 2013. And September 6, 2014 will be the last game these two teams play against each other for now, based on this contract that they're in. Obviously, we don't really know what's going to happen after that. We don't know if they're going to do a different contract or something like that. What I do know is that they were actually planning on taking a 2-year hiatus from the break. in 2018 and 2019, but had every intention of going back to it after 2019. So not really sure if maybe they just want to have that break now and maybe they come back and sit down with Michigan and do a different contract or something. I don't know. And we won't know until we hear more information about this and you hear the school saying, well, we did this, but we plan to do this. We really have no idea. But either which way, it is sort of sad to know that a historic rivalry like this could be dying. That's something that we all love about sports is rivalry. It always makes games more fun, more intense. And this one's going to end after 2014. What I also don't like is how early in the year both of the last two games are. I don't like that they play that early. I know they played early this year as well, but I just don't like it. If you're going to end this rivalry, why not put it later in the year? Maybe see if it has some real meaning.
Later in the year, they play Stanford and they play USC.
So they don't want to deal with it.
USC is actually their biggest rivalry. So that's why USC is who they play towards the end of the year. That's their tradition.